Welcome to Press X Props, kiddos. If you're looking for Pandora's props, you're in the right place. This is just a new name. Now, I don't do much 3D printing, but if you know anything about it, you know about layer lines. And you know they don't look good on your props, especially an organic shape or a rounded shape prop like this Nuka-Cola Thirst Zapper. Thankfully, you don't have to live with layer lines. You can make them completely disappear with a little bit of filling and sanding. And if you do your own modeling, you can piece and print your prop in a way that makes all the surfaces easily accessible for sanding. But because I don't do a lot of 3D printing, I do even less 3D modeling. So I downloaded this model off of Thingiverse from an artist by the name of Klondike. And I'll leave a link for where you can get these files in the description below. In fact, I didn't even print this entire model. The main body piece was too big for my tiny printer. So I asked my friend Corgi to print it for me, and he did a great job. So go check out him and his work because he is way better at this than I am. But stay here if you want to see my amateur, albeit effective method of post-processing your 3D prints. Materials you're going to need are sanding utensils. This is going to be your sanding papers and your sanding sticks, starting with 120 grit, 180, and finally a 220 grit. And 220 grit's going to get you most of the way there for a lot of your props. Unless you're going for more of a high polish finish, then you're going to want to move up to 500 grit after that. These sanding sticks I got from Amazon. They came in a chub pack. They're really cheap. It's an assorted variety of widths and grits, so you don't really know exactly what you're going to get. If you don't want to order those off of Amazon, you can also use these nail file emery boards from your supermarket cosmetics section. This particular brand is great because it gives you the grits right there on the packaging, so you know how that's going to correspond with your sandpaper. If you're doing a high polish finish, you're going to want some synthetic steel wool in fine and extra fine filler primer, not just regular primer. This filler primer has more body to it, so it's going to help fill in layer lines and scratches. I've used Duplicolor and I've used Rust-Oleum. They're, as far as I can tell, interchangeable in quality and function. Wood filler for large scratches and gaps. A dust mask for sanding. Respirator for spraying. Rags, gloves, and that should pretty much do it. Here are all the pieces. Dust and all. Now some of these have come off of my printer, which you can tell because the quality is quite poor. So we're gonna fill and sand all of these layer lines. Okay, so these really crummy prints of mine are going to take a lot more work than this nice print from Corgi. All right, so that was about 2 or 3 minutes of sanding on this, and you can already really start to feel a difference in the texture. Well, you can't, but I can. So I'm gonna get to work on the rest of these pieces, and you don't have to watch that. Okay, that is preliminary sanding done. Now it all gets a coat of this filler and sandable primer. So here are all the pieces after 1 coat of filler primer, and you can already start to see those layer lines disappearing, even on my terrible quality 3D prints. And on this higher quality print, you can see that it's almost ready to be painted. Almost. If I had done a little bit more work, I probably could have done this in 1 application of primer, but I'm gonna do it in 2 because sometimes it's easier to track where you've sanded after a coat of primer is on there. So the next thing is more sanding. All right, now I'm going to move down to 220 and buff some of these scratches out. All right, so that is what it looks like after preliminary sanding, one coat of primer, and sanding that first coat. It's definitely going to need at least one more coat, especially for these layer lines right here. But pretty good for a first coat. I'm gonna go ahead and finish the rest of these pieces up now. And that is all the pieces sanded after one coat of filler primer. And most of them are going to need a second coat, except for this main body, which was printed much better than I can print. But my rudimentary printing skills mean that I make more work for myself in the post-processing phase. Some of these have some deep voids in them from printing errors. And in keeping with my cheap and easy post-processing techniques, I'm going to use some simple wood filler to fill those in before the next coat of primer. Nothing too bad here. That should fix those enough that the next layer of filler sander will make them completely disappear. Okay, I'm just gonna make sure that these are all dust free and then slap on another coat of filler primer. Right, that's the second coat of filler primer, dried, I think. I set the project aside for like a week and I don't want to review the footage to find out. So I think this is the second coat. So the first coat pretty much filled in all of those layer lines, and the second coat went on to fill the tooling marks left by the sandpaper. So this coat is going to get buffed with some triple-aught synthetic wool. And that's gonna leave a very smooth, almost glossy finish on this piece, which is going to be great for a metallic coat on top of that. But if you're not doing a metallic or a glossy coat, you may not need this final polishing step. There, so after some polishing with the triple-aught and buffing with this rag, you can see that's a very smooth, almost reflective, glossy finish on there. And no sign of layer lines. So there you go. With a little bit of elbow grease, you can certainly make your 3D printed props a whole lot less obviously 3D printed. It's not that hard. Okay, I kind of lied to you. After I went over it with the triple-aught synthetic steel wool, I noticed some imperfections that were left from the spray paint. So I had to attack the whole thing again with some 500 grit sandpaper and then the triple-aught again, and then buffed it with a rag. And now I've got that finish that I was really hoping to achieve. But again, it might not be necessary for what you're making, but since I'm putting a metallic paint on top of this, I want as smooth a finish as I can get.